The past doesn't vanish. It doesn't disappear just because you learn to move on. It hides in your preferences, in your triggers, in the people you chase, and the people you push away. Most of us were trained to survive, not to heal. So we learn to numb the pain with productivity, with validation, with spiritual performance, with being strong. But what you avoid doesn't go away. It becomes your shadow. And your shadow doesn't sit quietly in the background like a harmless memory. It acts. It whispers through your reactions. It chooses your coping habits. It steers you toward familiar love, even when that love hurts. It sabotages your peace, not because it hates you, but because it thinks it's protecting you. This is the hardest truth. Your nervous system will choose what feels familiar over what feels healthy, because familiar once meant safe. So the past stays alive in small moments. The way you flinch when someone gets too close. The way you overexplain when you feel misunderstood. The way you go silent when you want to scream. The way you apologize for having needs. You don't need another motivational quote. You need a mirror. Not the kind that shows your face, the kind that reveals your fractures. This is where shadow work begins. Not with fixing, with remembering. Because your shadow wasn't created to ruin your life. It was created to keep you alive. Maybe when you were small, someone shamed you for crying, so you learned to smile. Maybe you were punished for anger, so you swallowed it and turned it into anxiety. Maybe being too much made people leave, so you became smaller, quieter, easier to love. And piece by piece, you locked away parts of yourself. The loud one, the creative one, the sensitive one, the wild, honest one. Now you wonder why you feel numb, why love feels complicated, why you can't relax even when everything is fine. It's because the past is still echoing inside you, and shadow work is learning to listen to the echo instead of fighting it. So how do you actually begin? Start here. The next time you get triggered, don't rush to react. Pause. Observe. Ask yourself 3 questions. What feeling is waking up in me right now? What old memory might this feeling belong to? Who am I trying to protect in this moment? Because triggers are rarely about the present. They're the past, knocking on your nervous system. And when you finally slow down enough to listen, you notice something. Your body has been speaking this whole time. The tightness in your chest, the tension in your jaw, the shaking hands when conflict appears, the sudden emptiness after someone's tone changes. These are not character flaws, they're messages, encoded signals from a part of you that learned, don't feel, don't speak, don't trust, don't need. So shadow work becomes a practice of translation, not, why am I like this? But, what happened to me that made this necessary? And then, write. Not to be poetic, not to impress anyone. Write to remember. Write to the version of you that had to hide. The 8-year-old who felt unseen. The teenager who stopped trusting. The adult who became strong too early. Ask that version, what are you afraid will happen if you relax? What do you still need that you never got? What emotion did you bury to stay loved? And then listen, like your life depends on it, because in some ways, it does. Here's another truth most people miss. You aren't overreacting, you're remembering. Your nervous system is not malfunctioning, it's repeating an old survival strategy. And this is where the pain deepens. Shadow work often brings grief. You grieve the person you could have been if you were loved more gently. You grieve the years you spent shrinking, overperforming, trying to be good enough to be safe. And this is why many people stop, because feeling is harder than forgetting. But forgetting is the trap, because the body always keeps the score. Unresolved pain doesn't fade, it repeats. That's why the same relationship pattern returns. That's why you freeze when you should speak. That's why you self-sabotage when life starts to improve. It's not fate, it's a loop. And the loop continues until you choose one brave thing: to feel what you avoided, not to drown in it, to integrate it. Shadow work asks one simple question again and again. What part of me did I abandon to survive? Maybe you abandoned your voice. Maybe you abandoned your softness. Maybe you abandoned your anger, your trust, your wonder, your boundaries. Whatever it was, it didn't die. It went underground. And what goes underground doesn't disappear. It waits. So the path isn't becoming perfect, it's becoming whole. Start small. Start with the parts you pretend you don't have. The jealousy you hide behind smiles. The judgment that flashes too quickly. The need to always be right. The impulse to ruin something good before it can leave you. Don't shame these parts. Study them. Because every shadow contains a clue. Jealousy can point to a dream you silenced. Rage can be boundaries trying to come back to life. Numbness can be the final layer of protection over a wound you still don't feel safe enough to touch. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the slow transformation of becoming who you were always meant to be by reclaiming what you were taught to hide. And here's the paradox. Your shadow is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It carries the truth beneath your overthinking. It holds the emotion under your performance. It remembers what your conscious mind tried to forget. And it will speak through your dreams, your triggers, the people you can't stop thinking about, the places you avoid. But if you listen, not just with your mind, but with your whole self, something sacred happens. The fragments begin to return. The child who was silenced learns to speak. The adult who became strong learns to soften. The version of you who had to leave comes home. And yes, it can get messy. You may cry for reasons you can't explain. You may feel lost without the wounds you called your personality. You may feel like you're falling apart, but you're not falling apart. Only the false parts are dissolving. And in the space they leave behind, something new appears. Peace. Not the peace of avoidance, the peace of truth. The peace of no longer lying to yourself. Healing doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means remembering it with compassion. Feeling what once felt unbearable and realizing you survived. And now you can live. If this video touched something inside you, don't ignore it. Stay with this work, because the goal isn't to be fixed, it's to be whole. And if you want more deep psychology like this, subscribe and tell me in the comments, what do you think your shadow has been trying to protect you from? Welcome back to yourself. Welcome home.